Tonight there is six. This is One Fat Boy, and here are my NBA game predictions for January 29th of 2022. Tonight there is 6 games. I will be going over the spreads and over-unders. I got the spreads from FanDuel, and then the over-unders are what I would put for the games, so it'll be a little different from the sports books. For Indiana at Dallas, I'll be going with Dallas minus 9.5. I expect Dallas's defense to slow down the Pacers a lot. And yeah, I think Dallas is just the better team overall. I think Luka just no one can really slow him down on the Pacers. Like if he gets going, game over. And Dallas has one of the best defenses in the league. I think it's technically ranked at number 1 right now. So that should be able to slow down the Pacers. So if you want to bet like under like 103 points for the Pacers overall, I'd go with that. And then Dallas, not an extremely high scoring team. So I'm going the under 216.5. That's what I would go with. But stats wise, like Luka should have a good game, like over 23. You can probably go like 6 and 6 over. And then Porzingis, he's just one of those players I usually don't bet on because he doesn't really. He's inconsistent, but I can always bet on him to hit at least like a 3 or 2, and maybe score like above 14 points consistently. But other than that, it's like just bet on Luka if you want to go for player props for this game. For Boston at New Orleans, so I'll be going with Boston minus 5. So both these teams played last night, but even though New Orleans is home, they don't have Valanciunas or Ingram, and that's who I like to place my trust on for New Orleans to win games. And if they're not there, I can't bet on the Pelicans. So it's like I have to bet on Boston in this case. So I just bet on Boston to win. Maybe the minus 5 seems more likely as they are more experienced, so they should be able to take care of the young players on the Pelicans. So I'm going to lean towards Boston in that sense. I'll be going under 215.5 as Boston, they do play some good defense. So that should be able to slow down the Pelicans as once again they're playing without like their 2 main players and Zion's still not playing. So technically their 3 main players are out. So whatever Boston can throw at the Pelicans defensive wise, that should really slow them down. I think Tatum will have a bounce back game from like the 20 points he scored last night. He probably should get over 25, and then Brown should have a similar game to the last night. And I think some of the role players should step up for Boston, or they should at least. If none of them do, just expect kind of a dull game overall. But under 215.5, that seems reasonable. As if Boston's cold, then this is for sure under 215.5. But I think the defense from Boston should slow down the Pelicans. For the Kings at Philadelphia, I'm going to have to go with Philadelphia minus 10.5. So Kings being towards the bottom of the league, and the Pelicans, the 76ers being towards the top of the league. Philadelphia should win this no problem, covering minus 10.5. That's also possible too. It's like it's more possible than the Kings being within 10 points. I think Philadelphia should really just blow this game out of the water in the first half. This should be a high-scoring game overall too, as the Kings, they don't play good defense, so the 76ers, I think they're role players, and especially Embiid. Like, no one on the Kings will slow down Embiid. So Philadelphia shouldn't have a problem scoring the ball at all. Then the Kings, they can get hot, so they can score a lot of points too. But they're also going to give up a lot of points. So that's what we'll be leaning towards the over 222.5. I do expect Embiid to have a good game. But if this is a blowout, so this is why I probably personally wouldn't bet on player props for this team, like for this game. Just because if this is a blowout in the first half, that means all the stats for the player that I would bet on, which would be Embiid, this is all going to be done in the first half and some in the third quarter. Because what if they're up by 25 in the third quarter? He's not going to play the fourth, so whatever he's at in the third quarter, that's what he's at. But I'd still bet at least like above like 25 points. I do expect him to do at least 10 rebounds, as he is the biggest guy on the floor. And then assists for him. I think it's safe to always bet at least 4, because he does have some good passes and does get his team involved. So I think that's always like a safe stat line to bet for him. It usually will hit. for Washington at Memphis. So even though Memphis played last night, I'd still bet on Memphis to win, as they're just a better team than the Wizards. Memphis is really coming to their own last 2 months, and just a hard team to beat. Like, all the loose balls on the floor, it's like they're the ones who's going to grab them. It's just like the extra possessions that help you win games, help you win those close games. That's what Memphis does, and they do it well. So Memphis -6, and also they have the best player on the floor with Morant, and usually you got like the best player on the floor, you're usually gonna have a better chance of winning the game. And I will be going over 221.5, as both these teams can put a lot of points up on the board. Washington, they can score a lot, and they also give up a lot too. So even though Memphis is on a second night of a back-to-back, I think their offense won't be affected that much, because the Washington defense is not the greatest in the world. So I do expect a high-scoring game, so over 221.5. And I do expect, like, Memphis have that balanced attack. Like, always Morant have a good game. Just can always bet like overs for him. Maybe not so much the points, but like at least over like 20 points for him. Then his assists and rebounds, always at least above 5. And then these teams shoot a lot of threes, so just you can choose some players that you think shoot well from 3. Just have them hit like 1 or 2. Those are always like ways to build up longer parlays. And then Toronto at Miami. So I'll be going with Toronto +5.5. So Miami did play last night, and it was like a 7-point game. So it's a game where you have to play your starters their full minutes, but not like above 40s. But Toronto didn't, so I'm just gonna lean towards Toronto, like staying in, keeping this game close, maybe getting the win. But I think they should keep it close. This should be a close game overall, as Miami, they are the better team on paper, but Toronto's just one of those teams. If they show up, they're hard to get rid of. That's for sure. We'll be going over 211.5. Personally, for an over/under for this game, I personally don't know where the sportsbook are going to place it. It might be one of those ones where it's going to be like under, like the over/under is going to be like between like 208 and 218. I don't know where exactly it will end up, but I'll just be going over 211.5, as I think Toronto will be able to score a lot against Miami, because they did give up a lot of points. I believe Miami gave up 114 points last night. So I think Toronto, they may not get to that 114, but they're going to be close to it, because Miami is on the second night of a back-to-back, so their defense isn't going to be as strong. Then Miami should keep this game close, so they should be right around where Toronto is. So it'll probably be like around like a 218 game, but 211.5 over is more safe than that. For Brooklyn at Golden State, I'm going to go with Golden State -6.5. Ever since that news where Curry figured out why he was shooting so poor, because he was shooting from his toes, not the balls of his feet. I think Golden State's going to go on a bit of a winning streak if that trend continues where he's shooting well, and if Klay Thompson is shooting well too, and they're getting all the players involved. Golden State's going to be one of those. It's going to be hard to beat again, and with Durant out, and I believe Irving's not allowed to play in San Francisco, so that means it's just hard in there for Brooklyn out of the big 3. So it's going to be a hard game for Brooklyn to win overall, so I'm just going to go with the safer bet and just have Golden State win, and they should be able to cover that 6.5 spread too. So if they get going from 3, it's going to be hard for Brooklyn to keep up. I will expect Golden State's defense to really slow down Brooklyn overall, as they have some solid defenders to slow down Harden. So that should really stagger the Brooklyn offense. Then even with like Golden State, just they don't like score a ton. Like I believe, last game they were in the 120s, but I don't expect them to be in the 120s in back-to-back games. Like probably like between 108 and 115. Then Brooklyn will probably be held to like low 100s or in the 90s. So that's why I'll be going with under 223.5. Thank you for watching. Leave any of your comments for your predictions on the games, any player props that you might have had. And once again, thanks for watching.